Okay, thank you guys all for coming. Yep. My marketing agent right there. That's my wife. Okay, thank you guys for coming. The subject is self-sabotage. So let me just talk real briefly about kind of what led me to my own kind of journey with self-sabotage. I've been in the fitness business since 2001, and for quite a long time, I had I call it the quote-unquote just do it attitude, which is if you're not getting your goals, what do? You just work harder. You run further, you work out harder, if you're running 5 miles, you're not achieving your goals, well, you got to run 10 miles to achieve your goals. So I did that for a long time, and I can tell you that didn't work. Then I tried a different approach. I call it the wish upon a star approach, which is there's a lot of different names for it, but it's where you just positive thinking, you go out there and you meditate on what you want, you send out that positive energy, and it's supposed to come back to you with what you want. Well, I did that too. Where I'd meditate, think about what I want, and go, okay, all I gotta do is sit here, think about it, I'm gonna achieve it. And that worked for a couple months, but then that didn't work either. So I found that that didn't work also, so now what? And so that led me on to this study, and basically I put together a couple different approaches from other authors and teachers and my own kind of experience, and this is what we're going to go through today. So, the learning objectives here on the chart. One is to create a better understanding of the word self-sabotage and the term success. I find it very important that before we do anything, we have to understand, what does this term even mean? How do I know when I'm sabotaging myself? And then secondly, what does success even mean? So, first, the word self-sabotage. Now on this, before we continue, on this handout, you'll see that some questions have some spaces there. This is for you to fill out. Not now, but really to give you some time when you take this home this afternoon, this weekend, to think about these things. I'm not going to ask a lot of just rhetorical questions while you're here. If you'd like to answer, you can, but we're really just kind of going to go through this stuff, and this is stuff that you can go through later. So, what do those words mean to you? When you think of self-sabotage, what comes to mind? Are we able to recognize the ways in which we sabotage our own growth and goals? Which I find very important. If you can't recognize what the word means or what your behavior would be, we're going to have a very hard time with digging into these roots. So, for my own definition of self-sabotage, first if we look at the word self. Obviously when we're talking about self, we're looking at ourselves, we're not looking at others, we're not looking at external things. It's easy to externalize that and go, well, my problems, my lack of whatever could be, you know, the economy, it could be this, it could be that, it could be somebody else. But obviously when we're talking about self-sabotage, we're talking about self. So my question is, we're looking at self, but what exactly are we looking at? What are we supposed to look towards? So I'd like to consider that there could be a couple different parts to us. Okay? Let's consider that there's a conscious part and a subconscious part. Your conscious part, that's the part that if it were to say something, it would say, I know that I know something about myself. Right now we're all in our conscious part or our conscious mind. Let's consider that just the part of your mind when you're awake. Okay? I know my name is Matt. I know I'm here today. I know I'm up front. I know I'm talking about this. These are all things I know about myself. Then let's consider there's a subconscious part. And that would say something like, I know that I don't know something about myself. So there's things about me that I know that I just don't know. And let's consider that that could be, if we had to give it a definition, the subconscious mind, that would be your mind when you're dreaming. When you wake up and go, wow, that was weird. What was that all about? I know there's something in there that relates to me, but I'm not really sure what it means. Okay? So, let's consider that that is self. We have two parts. We have the conscious part and the subconscious part. Next, let's look at the word sabotage. When you look in the definition in a dictionary, it's going to use sabotage with the intent to, what was it? With the intent to destroy or to obstruct. In this setting, I believe a better definition would be what I have written here. the intent to misdirect or distract us from what we say we want. So I see sabotage as, the sabotage we're doing to ourselves is not meant to destroy us, not meant to hurt us, but just to get us kind of off our path, onto a different path, or just distract us so we just sit there and don't do any progress at all. So if we go back to that explanation with the conscious and the subconscious mind, let's say our conscious mind is the one that's speaking. So right now I'm speaking, and I say, and I'm just going to use some real easy kind of examples when we're going through this stuff. I want to lose 10 pounds. So my conscious mind says, I want to lose 10 pounds. Now what if that subconscious part that I don't know too much about says, no, I don't want you to lose 10 pounds. Who wins? Who's going to win that battle? And so this is why I find it very important when we're looking at self-sabotage, we got to find out what those parts are. Okay? So simply, could we say that self-sabotage is getting in our own way? So when we come to sabotage, another question. Could there be a broad range of behavior that we see in sabotage? Could there be something that you see on the news, like you see an athlete or a politician make some really bad decisions, completely destroy their life? Or could me not going to bed on time, not eating the right things, not maybe whatever, these little decisions, could that also add up and do the same thing of not get me to what we're going to talk about next, success? I think it could be. And so I also have another question. When we're talking about these extreme forms of self-sabotage, when you look at some pro athlete completely just destroying their career, or some politician, or me, day in and day out, doing things, not going to bed on time, not getting my work ready for my next coming client, could that also be just as sabotaging? And I wonder if it has the same root cause. And that's my point. Could it all have the same root cause? No matter what we do, whether we make the news tomorrow or whether we don't, could it have the same root cause? And so here's another question. Is it possible that we can succeed in one part of our life but sabotage another part of our life? And if we look at sabotage in this broad spectrum, that could be extreme and more mild forms of sabotage, here's a rhetorical question. What percentage of people that you know sabotage themselves in some capacity? Interesting question. So, when it comes to self-sabotage and all these words that I'm defining, I would really encourage you to come to your own definition. I'm sharing with you mine. It doesn't make it true or false or right or wrong. It's just my definition of what the word means. But until we have an understanding of what that means to us, we're really not sure what we're looking at. So next, the word success. Again, what does that mean to you? In what areas of your life have you been successful, and what areas have you not? And here's an interesting question. Those areas that you have not, why do you think that is? I think there's a lot of power in asking some of these questions. So, Yogananda, in his book, The Law of Success, he said that success should therefore be measured by the yardstick of happiness. So he's not giving us a definition of success, and I think rightly so, because within a room of 20 people, we could have 100 different definitions of success, right? So we have to come to our own definition of what that means. But I think he gave us a good place to start looking, and he used the word happiness. So could it be that happiness, feeling happy, is a sign that we're on the right track? I would like to use a different word. And here I put a better word, but not necessarily better. It's just a different word of peacefulness. So could it be that when we're feeling peace with certain areas of our life, that we're approaching or gaining more success in life? So my next question would be this. In what areas or aspects of your life are you at peace with right now? And in what areas or aspects are you not? So could it be true that the feeling of peace is a good way to measure what success means to us? But again, I find it very important that we define that for ourselves. So here's my own definition of success. I think there's 3 key words: awareness, responsibility, and peace. So in my experience, this is how I would define whether I'm being successful or not. 1, I'm aware of the choices I make. 2, I take responsibility for all of those choices. And 3, I'm at peace with those choices that I have made because I understand their purpose. So for me, when I have written out my own definition of success, it's really helped me broaden and understand really what is it I'm looking for. So now when I feel like I'm sabotaging myself, this definition helps me. I would encourage you to come up with your own. This is just mine. Again, doesn't make it right or wrong. So, can we find our success if we don't have our own definition of success? And if you don't have your own definition of success, I find this very important question. If you don't have your own definition of success, my question is, whose definition of success are you living by? Case in point, I'll use Donald Trump as an example because he's an easy figure that we can talk about. No judgment on him at all, but his definition of success might be different than the 3 points I put. So if he's telling me how to be successful, but my definition is completely different, we're at odds. I'm going to have to give in, or he's going to have to give in. But if we can both come to an agreement that we have a different understanding of what success is, we both can be successful in our own right. So, main question when it comes to success is, how is that working for you? So whatever we're doing right now, we ask ourselves, how is that working for us right now? Whether we're coming to our own definition of success or we're living by somebody else's. So, next. Now that we've kind of explored the importance of looking at these terms, which I find very important, of what self-sabotage and what success is, now let's go through what I have found, what I've put together as this step process on how we get more aware. And I don't want to say get out of self-sabotage, because in my opinion, here's the bad news, is I think we're always going to have the potential to sabotage ourselves. I think it's unrealistic to say, you follow this, you'll never sabotage yourself again, or money back guarantee, and read my new book that's coming out, and buy my course, and you'll never do it again. I think sabotage is like health or like wealth. You can manage it. You can be healthy and wealthy today, and with poor choices you can be in the doghouse tomorrow, but you make the right choices and you're back there again. So it's the same thing with sabotage. If we just create this awareness, and really that's why, for me, again, that first definition I find the most important is number one, just being aware. The more we're aware of this, I think that's the real reason why we're here. So, anyways, this whole step process is kind of a collaboration of things, but let me explain this before we continue, because this is important. If you guys have any questions as we go on, I find it very important that you ask them, because I'm a very linear thinker, right? Meaning, if we don't understand self-sabotage, we can't move on to that. If we don't understand these two terms, I find it hard to ask this next question. So, that being said, if there's any questions with what we're doing, please ask. So, this next step, it's important that we understand step one before we move to step two. And I find that most things that deal with self-sabotage are so many steps beyond the steps we're going to go through. Meaning, sit down and write your goals down. What do you want? What do you want? Without really understanding what that really means and going through some other key steps. Just write on a piece of paper, tape it up on the fridge, look at it every day, and it's yours. Well, I tried it. It didn't really work for me. And so that question, how is it working for you, I find a very important question. So, step one, asking ourselves, what do we want? So that means, what do you want in your life right now? What's your number one goal? And the question here on the paper is, do you have a clear idea of what you want in life? Would you like to write that down? So, there can be quite a few people that don't know what they want in life. Really what they want in life. So again, if we don't really know the answer to this question, can we start going into the goal setting stage? I would say no. So, if someone doesn't know what they really want in life, here are some things to consider. Okay? Number A, sometimes we need to think creatively, or just guess. So here's a couple questions that we can ask ourselves. If you had one wish, what would you wish for? And I'm being silly when I say no asking for more wishes, but just think creatively. If you had one wish, what would it be? It can be world peace, if you want. It can be, I'm hungry, I just want some food. Whatever you want. Or, here's a second question that can help us develop a better sense of what we really want is, if you had unlimited resources like time or money, what would you do? Would you still be working? Would you be sailing a boat around the world? What would you be doing? So when we ask ourselves those things, when we say, well, I don't know what I want, ask yourself those questions and maybe we can find out what it is we really want. If that doesn't help, then we can go to B. Sometimes in order to find out what we do want, we have to find out what we don't want. That can be true of relationships sometimes. Sometimes we have to date, marry, and be involved with people that we don't want in order to later in life find out what we really do want. I'm wondering if that could be true of what we want in life too. So, a question to ask yourself is, what do I not want in my life? That could be what I don't want in my life right now, or what I don't want at all, or what's my biggest fear. So that could be, here's an easy one. I don't want to get sick. I want to maintain my health, but I don't really know what I want. Well, you just said it. You want to be healthy. If your biggest fear is getting sick, well, what you want is health. And again, when we're talking about what we want, we'll talk about a little bit later. We do want to just pick one main thing, but we're just trying to get the process started. You can say, well, I'm not sure if that's what I really want in life. That's okay. What you want or wanted 20 years ago is going to be different than what you want now. So what you want next week might be different. All we're doing is, again, just to point out, there's such power when we ask ourselves questions. We really start to dig in and find more and more about ourselves. And if it's true that what I talked about, if there's a conscious and a subconscious part, and if there's quite a bit of us that's in that subconscious that's controlling things that we don't know about, could it be that questions help bring some of that to the surface? I think it might. So, for these next couple steps, we're going to either grow up or grow down. I won't explain that too much because I wrote about it for time's sake. I don't want to spend too much time on it. But now we're getting into steps 2. And just like a tree, you're growing down and you're growing up. So, if you look on your last page of your chart, mine doesn't have one. There's a picture of a tree. It's a very well done drawing, if I might say myself. So I'm very visual, so I put together this, plus any excuse to draw, I'll take it. So we're right there where it says, what do you want? We're in step 1. Okay, so just like a tree, we need to grow down, we need to grow up. We need to dig some roots, and we need to get some branches going. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to grow down, and we're going to ask ourselves, what does that mean? Okay, and then we're going to grow up. So think of a tree. What good is a tree with no roots and no branches? Or what good is a tree that has no roots and just developed branches, or the opposite? There has to be, in my opinion, growth in both. And I have found the difficulty with both, meaning there's one approach where you're just really looking deep within yourself and you're asking yourself a lot of questions. You're finding all this stuff about who am I, what's going on? And you can really dig your real deep and find out a lot of stuff about yourself. But if there's no growing up, great, what are you going to do with it? You know, all this stuff about your subconscious psyche, cool. But life stays the same because you have no branches and that's where the fruit is. Or the opposite, we do all this goal setting. We talk about what my values are and all these things and write out all these plans. Cool. But if we have no roots, I find that to be faulty too. Again, just my opinion. So, step number 2, growing down. What does that mean? So, let's go with that 10 pounds thing. So, if you came to me a few years ago and said, I want to lose 10 pounds, I'd be like, great, let's do it. You lose your 10 pounds, and that's it. Now that I have a deeper understanding of these things in myself, I found the importance of doing this. Someone comes in and says, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Perfect. What does that mean to you? So it might go something like this. I'm just going to kind of role play it. I want to lose 10 pounds. What would that mean to me? It would mean that I'm going to be healthier. Okay. And what would that mean to you? Well, if I'm healthier, I can do the things I want to do. I can go ride my bike, I can go hiking, I can go do this. Okay, and what would that mean to you if you could do those things? Well, if I could do those things again, wow, it would mean that I have more control over my life. Okay, and what would that mean to you? Wow, if I had more control over my life, I would feel more stable in life. Perfect. And you could ask that question, what would that mean to you? I put etc. down there. You could ask that question as many times as you want. You could ask it once, you could ask it 100 times, and dig down as deep as you want. So my question is this. I come to you and say, I want to lose 10 pounds. Is that really what I want? Am I really looking for just some stability in my life because I'm feeling unstable? It doesn't mean that I don't still want to or need to lose the 10 pounds, but now I'm rooting myself deeper. I'm getting a better understanding, like, wow, okay. It's not about 10 pounds, because here's what happens in my experience. I lose the 10 pounds. I did it. Great, now what? If I didn't get what I was really looking for, which is stability, now I'm just going to set another goal and another goal, and 3 months later I'm always setting another goal, and another goal, and another goal. Well, the minute that I don't achieve one of those goals, now it reinforces my unsafety, and it creates this big cycle of things that we won't get into, but it creates a cycle. So I find it important to really find out what really does that 10 pounds mean. And again, you can ask that question as many times as you want. So there's some interesting questions down there that you can go through and ask. Again, if there's a space provided, you might feel like filling that out. You don't have to. But that's why I wrote this manual up, so that we can take this home and write in, okay, I want to do this. What does that really mean? And go with it more and more and more. So that's the growing down. Now the growing up. So I come in, I say, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. We talk about what that really means. Where is this leading? What's the bigger picture to the 10 pounds? Obviously, not to be facetious, but obviously, my life, I'm not here to lose 10 pounds, right? I'm not going to live my life, and my biggest accomplishment is to lose 10 pounds, or my big dream of my life. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this step of growing up. We're going to talk about the words love, dream, and legacy. And I have a question. What do those words mean to you? When you hear the word, your one love for your life, your dream, or your legacy, how would you define them? I find it just as important as defining sabotage and success. We've got to know what those words mean. So here's my definition of these words. Love. What do you love to do, and what would you do even if you didn't get paid to do it? Dream. What do you want to accomplish with the rest of your life? And or legacy. What would you like to create and leave for future generations? So in this talk today, we're going to leave off legacy. That's a fairly deep concept, and I just prefer to spend our time talking about dream or love. So, easiest one to start with is, what is your love? What do you love to do? I'll use me. Well, I love to hike. And so once I develop what my love is, now this can be the carrot on the stick of why I want to lose the 10 pounds. I understand the real meaning of it is. The real meaning is this. I'm trying to find some stability in life. I just want to have better control of my own life. But really why I'm coming in here, whether it's to lose 10 pounds, to make $10, whatever it is, there's a greater purpose to why I'm doing this. And so love is the easiest one to start with. What do you enjoy doing? Next, if we can take it a step deeper, is what do you want to accomplish with your life? What are you really here to do? So maybe for me, maybe my dream is, because I love hiking, I love exercise, maybe my dream is to, I don't know, I'm just guessing off the top of my head, help other young dads go out and hike with their boys like I want to do with my boy. Perfect. That's what I want to do with my time. I think they call it the Boy Scouts, right? Something like that. So my big dream is something along that lines. If I don't know the bigger picture to this 10 pounds or to this goal of making a certain amount of money, I'm going to keep chasing this. If I understand the bigger picture, this still is important, knowing what I want, but now there's more fuel behind it. So, case in point, let's go back to that 10-pound example, okay? Now that I know why I'm doing this, when I find myself starting to exhibit some sabotaging behavior, now it's not just about me losing 10 pounds, because really, who cares? Saturday night, I want some ice cream, what do I care? 10 pounds, I'll lose that next week, that's easy. But if I can see that my bigger dream is to stay healthy, to be able to be in shape, to hike with my son and do all these things, now, indulging in all these things that I might not want to do, I have better firepower. I go, you know what? it's not that big a deal. But whatever that dream is, we use that now to help motivate us forward. And so, right off the bat, I find the importance of finding out why we're doing it and having a bigger picture to it. So, here's the next question when it comes back to love. What's your one love? What if we don't know what we love to do? It's not uncommon. It's just like the wants. Ask somebody, start asking people, what do you want to do? I don't know. I have no clue. And you know what? That's okay. Because I have a question. What if the process of finding these things out can be just as enjoyable as actually going for them? I think a lot of times, if I can project onto our culture, we are given the sense that we have to have all our ducks in a row and everything has to be organized and you have to have this plan. Well, if we go back to that, my definition of success, that there's a peace that comes with that. If you're not at peace with that, then really are you successful? So could it be just as much fun of finding out what you love to do and what you want as actually going for it? So what's the rush is really my point. If you don't know what you want, that's okay. If you don't know what you love to do, that's okay. So here's what you can do if you're not sure. Ask yourself some questions. What do you love doing? With whom do you love doing it? For whom? For what cause? And in what setting? So what is it that you would be doing? Again, great question. If you weren't even getting paid for it, what would you do? And in what setting? Or, here's a really fun thing. If you don't know what you love to do, get out there and try new things. Just go, I'm going to take up this and see how it works out. Nope, didn't like it. That way we can find our likes and our talents. So, again, just to reiterate, I find it really important to go through these steps. Identifying what self-sabotage means to us. Success is huge. If I could really drive home one point, if we don't have a clear understanding of success, it's real tough to move forward with this. Then, stating what we want. If we don't know what we want, here's a series of questions that might help us develop it. If you still don't know what you want, you're in a great spot. You know why? Because in my opinion, you were brave enough to ask yourself the question. And that's pretty cool. Because now that you've asked yourself the question, you've opened the door, and maybe you'll find it next week, next year, whenever. But again, could it be that the process of finding these things out can be just as enjoyable as actually living them out? But once you find out what you do want, we grow down, we grow up. So, we're coming to a close here. I have a success skill with this lesson. The success skill is this: be compassionate with yourself. I have a question that's kind of, well, it might be a little off topic, but what could be the one common denominator with all healing, no matter what it is? The one common denominator. I find that common denominator to be compassion. No matter what it is, if you have an injury, there's a lot of different types of doctors to go see. There's a lot of things to go do. There's just a ton, right? Could it be that just having compassion towards ourselves is the common denominator? And from that, yes, it matters where you go and what you have done, but really, if we don't have compassion for self, the healing process is halted. I find that to be an interesting question. So, how to be compassionate with ourselves? The first one is using compassionate language. Now, this right here, when it comes to, this is called compassionate communication, or sometimes it's called nonviolent communication. This could be a class in and of itself. I'm going to cover this in about 30 seconds, so kind of bear with me. I just wanted to throw the concept out there. So hopefully I'm not creating more questions than answering questions. But when it comes to compassionate language, we talked in the very beginning about the different parts of us, the subconscious and the conscious part. So, example. In my opinion, non-compassionate language would be me saying something like that. I am lazy. I'm lazy. I can't do this. I'm lazy. There's no way. I can't get anywhere on time. I can't set goals. I just can't do it. I find that very non-compassionate because it doesn't accept the fact that there's different parts of me. I'm not all lazy. I got here. You got here. I got here enough time to write some things down, and I made some photocopies of these things. So yeah, there's parts of my life that you could say are lazy. Sure. So what if a better way of saying it is, a part of me is lazy? And even when you say that to yourself, there's just a relief of that. I'm not this. There's just a part of me that is, at times. And I'm sure everybody is lazy at times. Or whatever the word is. I'm not good enough. Well, there's a part of me that feels that way. But no, there's another part of me that really feels that I am good enough. There's a part of me that doesn't feel like I deserve whatever I want. Okay, I'll go with that. But then there's another part of me that actually does feel like I deserve to have whatever I want. Well, cool. Let's talk to that part. Take the part that doesn't feel like you deserve it. Let's leave that part elsewhere. So, just a little intro into using compassionate language. I find it may seem minor, but words carry energy. Best way I can describe it, if I was up here using foul language right now, that would carry an energy to it, right? You'd probably be like, what? That just doesn't, why would you use that word in this setting? So if a word like that carries energy, I'm wondering if other words carry energy too. And how we use those words in our own thoughts and with ourselves and with others, I wonder if that carries energy too. So the next one I wrote down here, we'll skip that one. I'm running over a little bit of time. Anyways, you can read through what that means. So success secrets. Number one, I find the most important is ask yourself questions. Again, a lot of knowledge that I've come to myself in this process is that right on the end, the question mark. I just ask myself questions. Number two, focus on one thing at a time. We talked about in the very beginning. What do you want? Well, here's my laundry list of what I want. Well, maybe let's just go through one thing at a time, focus on that. Number three, use the right brain. I'll just touch on this real quickly. Anatomically, you have two parts to your brain. You have the left side, which is your analytical. Anytime you're using language, that's what I've been doing for the last, and you've been doing listening for the last hour. You have a right brain that's creative. So I find that using the creative side of me helps my analytical side. So whatever your creative process is, dance, art, painting, whatever it is, I feel that that can help the process and help us to helping us to think. And I think especially if we come to some of these questions and we don't know the answer, what do you want? I don't know. Well, sometimes you're not going to find the answer by thinking about it more. What does that really mean? I don't know. Well, sometimes you're not going to find the answer by actually talking about it more. Sometimes you need to go out and do something to stimulate the other side of your brain, and then you come back to it a week later and go, huh, I know what I want to do. How did that happen? Just the way the brain works. So what to do next? I invite you to answer the questions that I asked in steps 1 and 2 completely. If I can leave you with this, these questions can really get us clear and deep with who we are and what we want. And I would say this, I just know me. If I came and I didn't answer those questions this weekend, I probably wouldn't answer them. I'd probably take this and it'd be, with good intention, but it'd be, in a pile of paperwork. So I would offer and invite you to do this weekend, to really just start the process of asking yourself questions. Number 2, I invite you to create your own questions. These questions don't mean that these are the only questions you can ask. These are just the questions I ask myself. And to be quite honest, this is all stuff that I've gone through myself. Questions I've asked, things I've looked at. So none of this is stuff that I haven't gone through myself and done the work. Number 3, I invite you to move on to step 3 when you're ready. So we talked about steps 1 and 2. I'll briefly cover step 3. If you look back to that cool picture of your tree. Growing down is who is in your own way. I'll just briefly describe that. We're looking at different personality traits within us. Who is my real inner saboteur? Who is it really? What part of me is really standing in my own way? And then the step 3 for growing up is what do you value? That basically means finding our core values. Without going too much into it, core values act as a compass. That's your GPS system of where you want to go. And I find that to be a crucial step too. And again, an often overlooked step. Here's your, just write out your goals and go for it. Well, I don't even know, I don't have a compass, I don't have a GPS. You've given me keys to a car and I'm in a city I don't know. Cool. If you don't have core values, anytime you get asked to go do this or do that or do whatever, that doesn't help you succeed to closer something to your dream, well, I don't know what my core values are, so sure, I'll go do that. I don't know. That would be step 3. And lastly, I invite you into my life, and this is what I do. This is another phase of my business. What we've been going through with asking the questions is called holistic coaching. And a holistic coach does this. Doesn't tell you what to do, doesn't give you advice on what to do, just helps be the mirror and go, could this be a good question you might want to ask yourself? Yeah? What do you think it is? No? Okay, let's try a different question. To help one another come to a greater level of awareness. So, that's it. Any questions on any of that?
Was I the subject of those 10 pounds?
I'm just going to turn the camera off.
A lot to take in.
Yeah, it's a lot.